Good morning, boss. So we want us to do the example for marginal costing. All right. So question number 28. So this is an example of marginal costing and absorption costing. So akakufusa pamayeso, they can ask us to prepare the profit statement using marginal absorption. So the following data has been extracted from the budgets and standards of Chakajino Limited, a company which manufactures and sells a single product. So they have given us a cost card. So each and every question, I might know that was a cost card. A cost card. We should make sure that we prepare our own cost card. Okay? So that we should, it should be very easy. Kuna zodi tigate kudziwa kuti ma variable cost anali ati, komanso fixed cost anali ati, komanso the cost per unit inali itiyo. So in this case, anali selling price inali nte kwaja. And then they have given us the direct wages, the direct material costs as 20 kwaja. And adibasa direct wages 8 kwaja. The variable overhead cost adibasa 5 kwaja. Alright, now the fixed production costs are budgeted at 800,000 per annum. Normal production levels are thought to be 320 units per annum. That was some budgeted selling and distribution cost. These are like my expenses. So the variable, adibasa kuti adali 3 kwaja per unit sold. The fixed anali 160,000 per annum. Okay. Adibasa some budgeted administration cost could have 240,000, but that was also per annum. And the following patterns of sales and productions are expected during the last 6 months. So last 6 months, sales units 60,000 from July to September. From October to December, 90,000. And then we had production units, of which the production units in 70,000 in July, September, and as well 100,000 that was in what? In October and December. So they have told us that there will not be any opening inventory. Required, we should prepare the profit statement for each of the 2 quarters using marginal and absorption. Alright, so they want us to do using marginal and absorption. So I said, well, the way we can distinguish these things is how we treat the fixed and the variable cost. Because I said when you're dealing with marginal costing, it means that we are dealing with variable costing. So if we go on our cost card yatu pajaimene kandi zintu zitatu. We have the direct materials, the direct labor, and the overhead. Pamenema overhead itima gamwili, variable overhead as well as the fixed overhead. Okay? So from direct materials, direct wages, and the variable overhead, namene alima variable cost yatu. So when we are doing the marginal costing, we're going to be using that as our cost per unit. Okay, so profit statement on the performer, we said we need to start with the sales. So I'm going to prepare for the first quarter, and you're going to try for the second quarter. All right. Okay, good. So sales units are two. So I'm doing for the quarter of July to September. Sales units are to 60,000 units. So I'm going to say here 60,000. So this 60,000 has to be multiplied by the selling price, which is 90. Water. So when I take my sales and multiply it with the what? The 90. Sorry, my calculator is not with me. Okay, so let's do 60,000 let's do 60,000 times 90. So this is 5.4 million. So I'm going to cut off the zeros to make it 5,400. So because this is marginal costing, so marginal costing, we say we charge only the variable cost to the cost of sales. So that's why it's called the variable cost of sales. The variable cost of sales. So on the variable cost of sales, we start with the opening inventory, of which they have said that there was no opening inventories. Okay? So our opening inventory was 0. So this 0 was supposed to be multiplied by the variable cost only. So our variable cost, when we take the cost for the material, which is 20, when we add the 8, it's 28, and then we add the 5, which is now 28, 25, 30, 33. So our variable cost per unit, we're going to be using 33. So when we take the opening inventory times the 33, it's going to be 0 there. Okay, and then we add the production. So we're going to add our production. So on the production, the production units, it was 70,000. So we take also our 70,000. And this 70,000 has to be multiplied by 33 as well, because what we are doing is the variable costing, only charging the variable component to the cost of sales. So if we go again on our calculator to multiply 70,000 times 33, so we have in 2310 as 2310 as the cost of our production. Yeah, so our production is going to be 2310. And again, before going to the closing inventory, you also need to check if you have been given any variable cost in your question. Because if you are given any variable cost in the question, you need to add it on the variable cost of sales. So when you go down there, you're going to agree with me that they have given us a variable selling and distribution cost here. There, yes. So I was also budgeted selling and distribution cost as follows. Not in name of variable. So as long as we are having the variable, we need to include them on the cost of sales. Because when we say marginal costing, we are charging the variable cost to the cost of sales. So I'm also adding the variable selling and distribution cost. The variable selling and distribution cost. So I was going to inali 3 kwacha per unit sold. So you're going to get the unit sold, which is 60,000, and when you multiply by 3, that's what you're going to have on your what? On your variable cost. Good. So let's multiply the 60,000 times 3 kwacha. It's going to be 180 here as our variable selling cost. And then lastly, we need to do the less closing inventory. So on the closing inventory, most of the times they are not going to give us the closing inventory. So what do we need to do? Closing inventory, it's like a hidden thing that is going to be included when maybe you have been asked such questions. Okay, so how do we find the closing inventory? Let me have my working here. So in order for us to find closing inventory, we need to ask ourselves, closing inventory, we are looking at katundu amene adatsala. Okay, kumalonda. So ngati tukulanga katundu amene adatsala kumalonda, how can we calculate that one? We take the opening inventory zomwe tidayamba nazo, and then we need to add zomwe tidapanga as the production. And then after getting the figure, we need to deduct my sales ngati zomwe tidagulitsa. So if you can see in our question, we made the open inventory was 0, and then we made some 70,000 and making it the total of 70. But 70 now we suppose into 60. So if we sold 60, more now we closing inventory only 10,000. So that 10,000 has to come here, and then again it's also going to be multiplied by 33 because 33 it's our variable cost. Okay, so when you take 10,000 times 33, you're going to have here 300 and what? 330. So let's find the contribution. So we take 2310 plus 180, and then we deduct 330, which is 2160 here. And then we take the 2160 and deduct 54, which is going to give you 3240. So this 3240 is going to be called contribution. So our contribution is going to be 3240. Remember, contribution is the figure we get after deducting sales from only the variable cost. All right, let's go to the less expenses. Paja marginal costing, you write off the fixed cost as my period expenses. So let's go there. Agunazo kudi tidali ndima fixed costs. If you check in here, we had my fixed cost per annum. I'm at 160. So I'm going to deduct that one as my expense. So fixed cost. So because they have asked us to prepare a profit statement on quarterly basis. So fixed cost per annum. That means on quarterly basis we need to divide it by 4. So we say 160 divided by 4. So that 160 divided by 4 is what is going to be our fixed cost, which is 416 is going to be 40 here. Okay, but they have included to say it was we need to prepare for quarterly basis, and the fixed cost was per year. All right, again we have been given another fixed cost there, this one. I mean the budgeted administration cost of 240. So administration cost of 240, it's also per annum. Yes, so 240 divided by 4, because when we say quarter, we are looking at 4. So I think that's 16, 160, I think 160. No, it should be 60, yes. So 60. When you add this, it's going to give you 100. So it's going to come here as 100. So when we deduct, I hope we did not forget any expense. Let me check. Yeah, no expense have been forgotten. Oh, and then we have another one. Sorry, yes, I missed that one. The fixed production cost. This one. The fixed production cost was 800,000. So I mean also my bank write off that period of expense. Fixed production cost. So it was 800,000. It was also per annum, but now we need to what? We need to trim it to a quarter, which is divided by 4. I think this is now going to give us 160. 200, yes. Okay, so when we add that, it's going to give you 300. And then when you take the 3240, when you take the 3240, yeah, 3240 minus the 300. So you have your 2940. So this 2940 is now going to be called our net profit. Yeah, so that's how we prepare a profit statement using marginal costing. The clue is you need to know that when you're dealing with the cost of sales, we are only going to charge the variable element of which variable element mufunso mwatu analipatsa idali 33 kwacha. So all the fixed costs are going to be written off as my period expenses. So 2940, it's our net profit on the